Another time, another month, another Breath of the Wild 2 and Nintendo Direct rumor / leak. This one's quite interesting, so let's get right to it. What's up guys, HMK here once again, and once again, we have another rumor / leak when it relates to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, its supposed appearance when it comes to a trailer in an upcoming Nintendo Direct. Now, the reason why I'm tackling this one is because, once again, I do like tackling leaks in order to either pick them apart, see if there's any truth behind them, see if it's plausible or possible, and I have a really good time with y'all when it comes to the comments and whatnot. But when it comes to this specific leak / rumor of Breath of the Wild 2, there's nothing to really back it up because it comes out of 4chan. However, there are tons of surrounding variables that, when put together, it interlocks into something very interesting, in which I'm like, okay, maybe. But once again, take this all with a grain of salt, because there's not quite a lot of information, but I mean, we do have some numbers. Anyways, let's kick it. When it comes to this specific direct rumor, when it comes to Breath of the Wild 2, apparently this claims that we're going to be getting a Nintendo Direct, an actual Nintendo Direct, August 17th. This month, the 17th of August, right? And then within that, we're gonna see things like a new Square Enix game that's called Aratharas and all this other good jazz. I mean, today, literally today, we got the confirmation of Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which wasn't part of this leak, because if it was, I would have been like, no. Apparently, Nintendo Switch Online isn't getting any new games, like, as of now, but it's gonna have some sort of reward system that involves missions, whatnot. And other aspects include Plants vs. Zombies Battle for the Neighborville coming to the Nintendo Switch, Super Mario 3D World with extra content, you know, a deluxe version that a lot of people have been hinting towards for the longest, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, Challenger Pack 7 being teased for Smash Bros., which is a big thing. All the leak is saying that it's not a first-party character, and that's going to be teased during this Direct. And then it whiles down to the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is going to have a trailer, and apparently it's teasing that Zelda is going to be playable in segments of Breath of the Wild 2, which is something that a lot of people have been playing around with. We're going to be diving into that aspect really soon. However, this leak also incorporates a release date, a release window for Breath of the Wild 2. Now that, to me, is a giant red flag in the fifth dimension. Because, I mean, we haven't had a trailer or any type of news when it comes to Breath of the Wild 2 outside of, you know, what happened at E3 last year. And it could be possible that, you know, Nintendo really was holding on to their big E3 stuff for the longest. They're just sitting, squatting on it, thanks to what's going on with the world with the pandemic and COVID and all that jazz. But apparently the release date that's subject to change, according to this leak, is May of 2021. Now, there is a lot of baggage for me to unload when it comes to Zelda being playable and the release date. Now, the reason why I'm even entertaining this type of leak is because other aspects are relating to the possible advent of a Nintendo Direct this month, coming out of VentureBeat, specifically Jeff Grubb, in which they're reporting, VentureBeat and Jeff are reporting that we are gonna get like a big, like a straight up an actual Nintendo Direct sometime between the time frame of August 11th through the 22nd this month. And then previously, VentureBeat did say that Nintendo was planning their E3, their big Nintendo Direct, but they constantly kept pushing it back and don't expect it until sometime maybe August or September. So that definitely goes in line with what they said before about a possible Nintendo Direct that we're going to be getting soon. And then August 17th, you know, is definitely between those two dates, the 11th and the 22nd, and it seems pretty safe and whatnot. And boy, if it all comes together like this, then I would definitely be a happy camper. Now, once again, when talking about these leaks, we gotta talk about the things that just don't seem to fly correctly, or doesn't seem to, like, you know, make sense. And the biggest thing is the fact that apparently Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out May 2021. Now, of course, there are, notions and ideas, and I've been playing around with the notion that Breath of the Wild 2 was originally supposed to release at the end of this year, 2020, but then, what happened with the world, the pandemic, COVID and stuff, really put a monkey wrench into the whole well-oiled machine, the gears of Nintendo and whatnot. So it could be possible that it was originally slated for 2020 and that a new date could be May 2021. However, for me, it seems incredibly weird and odd that Nintendo would try to release a game this big, because this will be the end-all be-all of the Switch. I mean, Breath of the Wild was a killer launch title, and then this is gonna be the sequel to that great Zelda game. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be like, one of Nintendo's swan songs when it comes to a console, a Zelda game, something massive, Zelda 20, right? So to have a game like this release before that of June, before E3 time next year, without that final firepower, possibly if the world returns to a somewhat normal state by the time of next year's E3, in which people can go to E3 and, possibly check out Breath of the Wild 2 there at a booth with an awesome, little mini Disneyland like how they did E3 2016 when Breath of the Wild was still on the Wii U. To dodge all of that, to not even entertain that, or, possibly being released before that, just seems incredibly left field for Nintendo to not, what's the word I'm looking for? Really encapsulate, really, strike the iron hot when it comes to that big level of promotion that E3 time or E3 the event can afford a game as massive as Breath of the Wild 2. But conversely, Breath of the Wild 2 is definitely one of those games that is so huge that literally, Nintendo just has to Breath of the Wild 2, and then the game would sell itself, honestly. And if Breath of the Wild 2 was originally supposed to be slated for 2020, like a lot of leakers said it was supposed to be, and then, COVID just knocked it off that train and then put it into May of 2021, or just knocked it into 2021, I would I would feel that Nintendo would just straight up either release it sooner around March, or just hold on to it until holiday or around the vicinity of holiday of next year in order to really get that promotion going. If we're really gonna go out of 2020 without any type of Breath of the Wild 2 news or whatever, that would be insane. Once again, like the desert days of Zelda Wii U. Oh lord. So if the plan for Breath of the Wild 2 is to be released in May, that just doesn't, that seems way too odd, where I would be like, Nintendo would just wait until later. May is a weird time within, business and dropping games, movies, media, all that stuff. May is kind of a weird time. But hey, Breath of the Wild 2, the sooner the better in my opinion. That would be dope. And then of course, Zelda apparently being playable within Breath of the Wild 2. That's something that a lot of people have been clamoring for, a lot of people want, a lot of people have been theorizing about. But then at the same time, when it comes, there's a personal aspect when it comes to the game of Breath of the Wild 2 of how Zelda truly will be playable. Because I mean, we've had open world games where we have party members or whatnot, and then Zelda could literally just be an AI party member that you can control in certain aspects of the game or whatnot, and she could follow around Link and whatnot. Switch between Link and Zelda. That would be cool for an open world game, but an open air game in which Breath of the Wild, and I want to assume Breath of the Wild 2 will have a lot of verticality to it. And then having Zelda climb along with Link. If Zelda were to tag along everywhere Link goes, then I don't know about that. Possibly they would do something along the lines of Paper Mario 1 and 2, where when Link finds a dungeon, beats a dungeon, it just shifts over to Zelda in another location. You play as her, and then you do her spiel every time Link beats a dungeon, and then you get that full story back and forth and whatnot. But then that in itself would throw a monkey wrench into the whole idea of, Breath of the Wild originally is go wherever you want, whenever you want, however you want. And what I just said suggests massive linearity, right? But at the same time, it'll only happen if you decide to go after those dungeons, if you decide to get that extra story, that extra, bang for your buck, because in Breath of the Wild, you can beat the game without doing any of the Divine Beasts. Hey, if you want to get the Master Sword and just throttle the castle, you can, right? So maybe the Zelda segments are truly optional if you decide to go in a form like that where Link beats a dungeon, goes over to Zelda, plays as Zelda, or you know, maybe it will do something weird like Persona 5 where you discover a dungeon, right? But you don't do anything when you discover the dungeon. You roll back, you find Zelda, hey, I found the dungeon. I think it's time for us to roll up to the dungeon and tackle it together. And then you go back to where Zelda is, and then you bring Zelda to the dungeon, and then that in those segments, you'll be able to control Zelda and Link in tandem in order to, you know, solve the entire dungeon. But she won't become available until you find the dungeon. Kind of like, you know, oh, we gotta find the palace. Oh, we gotta send the calling card. All right, let's head back and then go back in. Maybe an aspect like that. But honestly, Zelda being playable, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but I just really want to see how Nintendo will tackle something like that. And all in all, this leak sounds a little safe. Like the May 2021 thing is definitely red flag in my opinion, but overall this leak seems very safe. But the reason why I'm, you know, even talking about it is because all the situations surrounding it, you know, August Nintendo Direct between the 11th and the 22nd, and here we have the 17th. It's all, you know, it all might be coming together, but I want to know what you guys think about this leak, about the notion of an actual Nintendo Direct coming this month. I hope so, because, you know, we're all ready, we're all thirsty, we're all hungry for that news. And I would want those Super Mario games to come out if they're real. I mean, they're still leaked, but I mean, they got the Paper Mario game, right? And Pikmin. So, I mean, yeah. Let me know what you guys think about this leak, about this rumor in the comment section below. Once again, it's a leak rumor, take it with a grain of salt, but talk about it. Like, share, favorite, most importantly, subscribe to HMK for more content every week. And be sure to check out my Patreon if you want to find out how you can support HMK for just $1 a month. Everything is in the description box below. And until the next message from the 5th dimension, this has been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.